Listen, welcome back to the Total Confidence Podcast. I'm your host, Ahmad Wazir. And I want to thank Alma Valentine, a very talented artist who just happens to be my daughter, for the use of this theme song, which is very fitting. It's a message to me more so than anybody else, you know. Believe it or not, I can be an asshole sometimes, you know. I know that's hard to believe, those who know me and been listening, but trust me on this, all right? So today I want to talk about the three primary instincts that we have as human beings. And these instincts, we tend to have one that is dominant, we have one that's a secondary instinct, and then we have one that is repressed or a blind spot. Okay? So I'll start with the social instinct because I'm a social five. I have a dominant social instinct. Okay? And I'll just say it in layman terms right now, then we'll go a little deeper. My instinct when I walk into a room is, where do I stand with everybody in that room? It's not even a conscious thing. If you ever watch me walk into a room full of people, especially people that I know, I'm going to make some kind of contact with everybody in that room if I know them. Whether it's verbal, whether it's an acknowledgement, I need to know where I stand with the people in that room. It's hard to explain, but it's just like I heard Ann Geary, one of my teachers here in Charlotte, and she talked about like having different tentacles come out, and like an octopus has like the different tentacles, and they touching everything in that room. That's how I make a connection with everybody in that room, because I have a very, very strong social instinct. I'm going to be coming out of one of my favorite Enneagram books, The Complete Enneagram, by one of my favorite Enneagram teachers, Dr. Beatrice Chestnut, who I hope to have on soon. So, social interaction. The social instinct focuses attention on and shapes behavior around issues relating to belonging, recognition, and relationships in social groups. It drives us to get along with the herd, our family, the community, and the groups we belong to. This instinct also relates to how much power or standing one has relative to the other members of the group in terms of whatever that might mean for a person of that specific type. So for me, I do like to know where I stand with people, right? For example, at work, my default tendency is to become some kind of expert, some kind of person that specializes in something. As a social five, we like to be the guy who just has this specific thing that we bring to the table. Okay? The social five, I like to be the guy that mentors and the guy that people can rely on, and that really boosts my ego. You know what I'm saying? Not that it's not sincere at all. It is sincere, but sometimes it's unconscious. And the thing about these things is when they become automatic and we're not actually aware of what we're doing, then it's ego driven. Okay? So before I can really go into the social aspect of the social five, which is going to be very revealing about myself, let me deal with the other two instincts. And this might sound familiar to some of y'all. So I got people who are friends who have a dominant self-preservation instinct. Okay? So the self-preservation instinct focuses attention on and shapes behavior around issues related to survival and material security. It generally directs energy towards safety and security concerns, including having enough resources, avoiding danger, and maintaining a basic sense of structure and well-being. Beyond these basic concerns, the self-preservation instinct may place emphasis on other areas of security in terms of whatever that means for a person of a specific type once it mixes with one of the 9 passions. So again, this is not a exact description right here, what I'm getting ready to say, because you might have people who have a dominant social instinct, but they had a parent that had a strong self-preservation instinct, so they're always prepared, okay? But primarily, A person with a dominant self-preservation instinct, and I think about the people I know, they're very good at being prepared, better than me. Okay, um, they got enough food for themselves. They're in the room and they're just making sure, okay, when I go here, I got my food. What's the temperature in the room? They're about taking care of themselves. Okay, that's not the dominant thing for me. I'm social, so it's like the group. Okay, everybody's here, and boom, boom, boom. But for a person that's self-preservation, who leads with the self-preservation instinct, they're more so concerned about themselves. It's not that they can't be social, okay, but it's they're more so leaning towards, like for example, people who I know who have a self-preservation instinct. They're prepared for the weather. Their cars, they got the jacks and batteries, and I mean not batteries, jumper cables and things of that nature. It's almost automatic for them. Now me, I walk out the house. I'm Mr. Magoo, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm just walking and, self-preservation, I'm completely like self-preservation repressed because according to the Enneagram, you have these three instincts and we have all three of them. One is dominant, one is secondary, and one is usually repressed. I'm self-pres repressed, which means, man, I walk out the house, it's raining, I ain't got no hat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't got enough food. I'm at work and I got to be there for a long time. I ain't bring nothing to snack on or whatever, man. And I just be like completely caught out there sometimes because I have to make a conscious effort to take care of those things for myself. Okay, it doesn't come automatic. Where my friends who are who lead with their self-preservation instinct, man, they got the snacks, they got the umbrella. Man, I probably had an umbrella like 3 times in my life, and I lose them every time. Like I'm just getting rained on, and it's just because I'm repressed in that self-preservation thing. Okay, so I lead with the social, where I fit in the group. Where I am in the hierarchy. How do I relate to the leadership? How do I relate to the people? My secondary instinct is called the sexual or one-on-one. Now, sexual doesn't mean having sex, but it's an intense desire to connect with people. Okay, I'll read what Dr. Chestnut says. The sexual instinct focuses attention on and shapes behavior around issues related to the quality and status of relationships with specific individuals. Sometimes referred to as the one-to-one instinct, it generally directs energy toward the achievement and maintenance of sexual connections, interpersonal attraction, and bonding. This instinct seeks a sense of well-being through one-on-one type connections with people in terms of whatever it means for a person of a specific type. And it says that because depending on what Enneagram type you lead with, it's going to manifest in a different way. Okay. So my sexual instinct is the secondary instinct for me. Okay. It's not as strong as my social instinct, but I connect the people who are my friends, the people who are my family, the people who I trust. I like to have this one-on-one bond, like to where I don't like pity pat friendships. I like if we're friends, we're friends. Like I don't like superficial stuff. So for me as a 5, the people who are in my circle, they know me. I gotta trust you. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to share things. I'm not going to just share my victories. I'm going to share my defeats. I'm going to share my insecurities. And bonding on a one-on-one basis, it energizes me. Again, it's not as strong as the social instinct, but making those connections. And so for me, I lead with the social. The sexual is the second, and then the self-pres is my blind spot. Okay, so but I want to talk about today about the social 5, which is me, and I'm gonna reveal some stuff about me that are almost automatic, man. I open myself up as a case study, and so again, I'm coming out of Dr. Chestnut's book, The Complete Enneagram. Now, the name of this book the name of this podcast is Totem Confidence. The reason why it's called totem confidence is because each of these subtypes, because you have the self-preservation five, you have the sexual five, and you have the social five. You have the self-preservation one, the social one, sexual one. So each of the 9 types have 3 subtypes. And there's a name for each one of them that came from Claudia Naranjo. And Beatrice Chestnut is the one who really expounded on this work. So my podcast is called Totem Confidence. The name of the social 5 is Totem by Claudia Naranjo. The name of the sexual 5 is Confidence. Okay? So these are my 2 dominant instincts. Okay? So Totem Confidence is just the name of the social 5 and the sexual 5. Those are my 2 primary instincts. And there's a shout out to Beatrice Chestnut as well, Dr. Beatrice Chestnut. So, the social 5, which I lead with, and I'll let you know how much this resonates with me. For social 5s, the passion of avarice, and avarice is this intense desire to hold on, is connected to knowledge. These 5s don't need the nourishment of relationships. These 5s don't need the nourishment relationships provide because their passion for knowledge somehow compensates for what they might get from direct human contact. So for me, it's horrible. I don't want to be judgmental of myself, but I kind of cringe because I can tend to rather connect with a book than people. You know, if you give me the choice of reading a book or meeting somebody new, and a lot of times I'll have that book unless that person is so interesting to me, you know, and that's not good. Because knowledge is what makes me feel safe, filling up on knowledge. Okay, it's if they have an intuition that they can find everything they need through the mind. Needs for people and for emotional sustenance, get displaced into a thirst for knowledge. See, we're social creatures, right? And it's an illusion that if I fill up with enough knowledge, then my needs are going to be met. No, our needs get met through other people as well. But again, these defense mechanisms, this orientation, and this is distortion of our essence that we're born into the world with. There's a wounding that takes place. We all are wounded. You know, in the biblical sense, we're born in sin and shaped by iniquity. We cannot control the world and the environment that we're born into, so it affects us in different ways. We can have the most well-intentioned parents, but we're going to be affected by our environment in a negative way. The name given to this subtype is totem, which communicates their need for super ideals or the need to relate to people who share their intellectual values, interests, and ideals. The image of a totem suggests both height and a character that is constructed like an object rather than a human being. So there's a need. If I just read this book, it's almost like when I discover like some knowledge or whatever, my ego tells me, man, if you read this book and you master this, then you'll be safe. But it's like the dog chasing his tail. How many books do I have to read before I feel safe? You can't know it all. As knowledgeable as people tend to think I am, I don't know a lot. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge is infinite. So I can never, it's just like trying to drink all the water out of the Mississippi River. You can't do it. You can only cycle through enough a little bit at a time. But my ego, my fear makes me feel that, man, if I read this book, if I know this, if I master this, then I'll feel safe in my environment. It's completely a distortion of my essence, okay? These 5s do not relate to regular people in everyday life. They relate to easily idealized experts who share their ideals, to people who display what they see as outstanding characteristics based on shared values and knowledge, and who they can keep at a certain distance. Now, I'm going to be honest about myself. I don't relate to everybody. I don't like small talk. It's bad because there are people around me who want to get to know me, but if I'm not really interested in you or I don't find you interesting, I can kind of push you to the side unless you're just willing to sit and listen to my musings. Whew. Listen, I don't come on here to front. I come on here to give you the real. And again, this is a distortion of my essence, right? So if you don't have something to teach me, if you're not interesting, then I can kind of brush certain relationships to the side, which is completely ludicrous because everybody has something to offer, right? Not that everybody should be an intimate friend, but everybody has something interesting about them. But if you don't share the ideals that I have, most of my friends, my intimate friends, are people who share, you know, different things that align with my values, you know. So I mean that's natural, but it's a little more intense. Okay. For social fives, then avarice gets acted out through a greedy search for the ultimate ideals that will provide a sense of meaning by connecting them to something special, therefore elevating their life. You know, I think about Eminem, Lose Yourself. He said, a normal life is boring, but superstardom's close to postmortem. You know, I don't want a normal life. I can take for granted the basic things that really mean a lot that I'm blessed with, but I'm always searching for to be something, to be something special, to be elevated. It's not as overt as the type 3 who's just like, yeah, hey, I want to be the center of attention. I want that too, but it's more intellectualized and rationalized. It's more hidden. It's more covert. But I want to be something, you know? I want to be recognized as a great teacher. I want to be recognized as a, Enneagram and poetry and the things that I've done. You know, I desire to be known. You know, I don't want to be just some obscure person that dies and people don't know for what it's worth. You know, I'm just being completely honest. The social five's passion is the need for the essential, the sublime, or the extraordinary instead of what is here and now. Yeah. So if everybody's up on it, I don't really get into it, right? Like, let me give an example. The show Power, right? Most of the people I know watch Power. I don't watch that shit just because most of the people I know watch it. Because it's not sublime. If everybody's doing it, I don't want to be a part of it. You know? And I'm talking without a filter because I'm working on these things, but I'm just giving it to you raw because I don't want to sit here and be clinical as though I've got this all mastered. No, I'm still wrestling with this ego of mine, you know what I mean? This automatic behavior, So if everybody's up on an artist, I give an example, the movie Slumdog Millionaire. It took me forever to watch it, which was a great movie, but because it was so much hype around it, I was like, nah. Subconsciously, like, I don't want it because everybody's up on it, must not be special. According to, no, let me back up. In line with this need for relationships based on shared ideals, social fives have a tendency to look upward toward higher values. According to Naranjo, they look toward the stars and care little for life down on earth. Now, this is painful because, as a father, as a husband, sometimes I can make my family feel like they're not enough, which is not good because I want to reach this ideal. And even though the things that I'm blessed with here on earth, I can overlook that because it's not good enough. It's not, like Kanye said, it ain't Ralph though. It ain't Ralph level. You know what I mean? It's not extraordinary, but it is extraordinary. It's all based on perception. Okay? In contrast to sexual fives, who are the iconoclasts, social fives are admiring people. individuals who admire others that express their ideals in extraordinary ways. I'm reading this book by one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Beatrice Chestnut. I was blessed to go to one of her workshops a few years ago. And it was just like, I love my teachers, you know? This is the person who's giving me knowledge, and so I pedestalize these teachers who are flawed. All of us are flawed, but for some reason, throughout my life, my teachers and mentors, I pedestalize them because they have ideals, and this knowledge that they give is feeding me that helps me to feel safe. It helps me to feel special. Okay? And looking for and adhering to super values, they can be disdainful of ordinary life and ordinary people. This is what I said earlier. You know, if you just like, you know, somebody the other day was talking to me and they were saying how they get together and hang out, you know, him and some of his friends. And I just wasn't interested, you know, like, okay. Because it wasn't extraordinary, even though I need that connection. You know what I mean? I need connection with people, but if it's not centered around a super ideal, I can downplay it. If it's not centered around something that I'm primarily interested in, and I keep people at bay like that, and I just wonder, do people feel some kind of way because they're trying to find ways to connect with me? They say, this is a cool dude, but you know, I've had people over the years, they invite me to parties or get-togethers and I don't go, and they're just like, damn, you know? But it's not personal. It's just, I don't find it interesting enough for me. This gonna sound fucked up, you know what I'm saying? But hey, I just gotta keep the shit all the way real. So, the life of the mind feels more compelling, and the people at a distance who represent the extraordinary seem more seductive and interesting to them than the people they meet in everyday life. Yeah. My Enneagram teachers, you know, not just Enneagram teachers, but just the people that, you know, I'm a big Jay-Z fan. I'm always quoting Jay-Z. I'm always quoting people who are great thinkers. And those people are more interesting to me than the people in everyday life. I mean, it's messed up as it sounds. Social fives are looking for the ultimate meaning in life, motivated by underlying potentially unconscious sense that things are meaningless unless the ultimate meaning is found. This five's drives to find the extraordinary underscores a polarity they may perceive between extraordinariness and meaninglessness. They look for a meaning to avoid a fearful sense that the world is meaningless, but in their search for meaning, they orient themselves so much toward finding the quintessence of life, the extraordinary, that they may become disinterested in everyday life. Yeah. Yeah, man. I gotta be driven by something. I don't like regular life. This shit is, it's jacked up as it sounds. Like, this is hitting right on the head. Matter of fact, when I first read this, I told Dr. Chestnut, I said, this hurt my feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because it showed me, because I thought it was like a virtue to be the way I am, and it's not. You know, they see a gap between the ideal and everyday life, and they burn in the longing for the ultimate meaning. For this five, motivated by the social instinct in the service of avarice, the common, ordinary self does not have enough value to satisfy their drive for meaning. Now, let me say this about myself, though, because it works on me, too. I don't feel I'm extraordinary enough for people to be genuinely interested in me. Sometimes when people are interested in getting to know me, I'm looking at them sideways, like, why are you interested in me? I ain't nobody. Ugh, it's hard, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. In their search for meaning, these fives can become spiritual or idealistic in a way that is actually counter to real spiritual attainment, because it bypasses compassion and empathy and the practical level of how people connect to each other in ordinary life. This is so real, because you can't be spiritual. True spirituality can exist in the presence of other people. But if you're so spiritual that you have to remove yourself from everybody and you're not able to affect change with that spirituality, it's ego centered. You know what I'm saying? And I have exhibited this behavior. um, so this tendency is the prototype of what is sometimes called a spiritual bypass, in which a person looks for and devotes themselves to a higher ideal or value system of knowledge as a way of avoiding doing the emotional and psychological work he would need to do to grow and develop. They may believe they're transcending their ego, but their adherence to their spiritual values or practice is their way of escaping from their everyday emotional reality. Listen, it's real. If it's not able to help you in real life, it's bullshit. I'm going to say this again because I tell people this all the time. That's why I don't debate religion no more. I don't debate none of this stuff, man. Listen, whatever you are professing, if it is not able to enhance the quality of your life and the life of those around you, it is ego filled. And maybe it's not the actual teaching, but it's your application of it. And I've been there. Okay? Any type can spiritually bypass, but the social five is the prototype of someone who employs this as a defensive strategy. Man, this hurt my feelings when I first read this, but it's real, you know? And this is what this is for. It's not it's to get better. You know what I'm saying? It's not to stroke my ego, because I thought this was a virtue. I thought me being this guy who, I'm snobbish because I don't really like to feel vulnerable in real life. I don't feel I have value in real life unless I bring something to the table, unless I'm saying something interesting, unless I'm doing something interesting. Okay? Social fives prefer not to feel. They can be mysterious and inaccessible, or fun and intellectually engaging. Y'all can hear me. I'm fun and intellectually engaging, right? Intellectually engaging. They may hide out in the pose of an expert, and they tend to have a sense of omnipotence. I'm sure I was saying this all wrong. Omnipotence. Yeah, there we go. Omnipotence through the exercise of their intellect. Yeah, I can hide behind my intellect. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be vulnerable and show up, that's the challenge for me in everyday life. I was thinking about this the other day. I want to go back to Richmond and talk to some of my mom's family, because I don't have a connection with my mom's side of the family. Hell, I don't have a connection with my dad's side of the family, really, beyond the superficial, except for my immediate family. And that's limited. You know, I'm talking about my brothers and sisters that I grew up with. And that's limited. I was just thinking, I woke up the other day, I said, man, I'm missing so much by focusing on these super ideals and life in the stars. I don't know the history like I should know. I don't know what really uniquely makes me me, because I don't really know the history of my family like I should. I'm way out in space sometimes. But I had this desire the other day. Actually, I woke up the other day and said, man, I need to go to Richmond and talk to, because I had an uncle that just passed away, and I need to talk to some of these uncles and aunts who are older while they're still here. And I can understand a lot more about myself. Okay? These fives may imagine that they are superior to others because of their higher ideals and values. Although they would never intentionally show it, they seek recognition and prestige. They want to be someone important, and they often seek to fulfill this desire by aligning themselves with people they admire. This is me. This is me. You know? I want to be somebody important. I do. You know? I want to be somebody who makes an impact. Now, that's not all ego filled, but a lot of it is. Because I like to help people. But is it truly altruistic, or is it, self-gratifying? I don't believe in extremes. I think it's a little bit of both, Social fives can look like type sevens in that they can be fairly outgoing and display a great deal of excitement about interesting ideas and people. I joke. I was talking to one of the Enneagram teachers. I was on his podcast a few months ago, Joel Hubbard, and I said, "Yeah, man, social fives we're like diet sevens, you know. We just don't have the energy to sustain it. But I could be very sevenish, you know. I can look like a seven. The social five is typically more quote unquote out there than other fives, in the sense of being more social and able to engage. Social fives differ from sevens, however, in that they are more reserved, less self-interested, and less emotional than sevens. Yeah, and so this is me. I'm the social five, and it's almost like a oxymoron because the five tends to be antisocial. We struggle socially, but I have a strong social instinct, and so I know a lot of people. As a matter of fact, one of my coworkers think I'm like the best of friends with everybody. I'm like, nah, I have a few people that I really rock with like that, but it looks like I'm cool with everybody, and I am, but it's only a small number of people that I really have an intimate connection with. And so, yeah, this is me, the social five. I want to get out of this snobbery and be a regular person. not a regular person. I don't want to, denigrate it, but I have to do better with this, because even with my own children, sometimes I miss a lot because my head is out in space, and it's just the simple joys. I was looking at two of my children today as they were getting ready to go to school, and just the joy on their faces, and I miss that stuff a lot of times. The simple things. They don't need all this superficial stuff. You know, I have a hard time believing, even with my family, that they just love me for me. I'm not interesting enough. I don't know enough. You know, this is unconscious, you know. Why would y'all be interested in me? Why would y'all just want to be around me? But that's what they want, just me, my time. But my ego, when it's out of control, it makes me to think that, or leads me to believe that once I get better, I can engage. And so the whole purpose of this is to bring awareness to this so that it's not automatic, you know, to get off of autopilot and say, okay, let me bring my attention to this and break this pattern, because it causes a lot of great pain to myself and to others who want to connect with me. So this is the Social Five. I hope that y'all enjoyed this. This was kind of a hard one. Not really. I don't mind sharing this about myself, but there is a part of me that's kind of self-conscious, like, damn, I'm just giving too much up. But if it's going to help others, and it definitely helps me, to be honest with you, I appreciate it. So this is Ahmad Wazir, Total Confidence Podcast. I appreciate y'all listening. I'll see y'all next week.